My beloved child, I know you are walking through a season where everything seems to be slipping out of your grasp. Each day passes like a quiet battle between the cries within your soul and a silence that feels endless. But it is in that very silence that I am speaking the deepest truths. When you feel my absence, that is when I am closest, not through words, but through unseen strength, sustaining you moment by moment. You may be asking why these things are happening, why your prayers remain unanswered, why what seemed certain has collapsed in an instant. But hear me clearly in this very moment. Everything that is happening is not to break you, but to awaken you to a new level of faith where your trust is no longer anchored in circumstances, but in my unchanging nature. I allowed that door to close, not because I rejected you, but because I am leading you on a different path your natural eyes cannot yet see. But your soul will recognize if you keep walking. You are not abandoned, not forgotten, and certainly not judged as a failure. On the contrary, you are being led into a season of divine restructuring, where every broken piece within you will be gathered and reformed into a new shape of version of you that is stronger, deeper, and closer to me than ever before. The trials you face do not cancel the sacred calling I have placed on your life. They only clarify it. When you still choose to trust me with nothing left to hold on to, when you still lift your eyes to me in the fog of uncertainty, when you still whisper prayers no one else hears, that is when you offer me your most precious gift, a faith not swayed by outcomes, but rooted in the relationship between you and me. There are things that can only be revealed in the furnace of testing. There are treasures in your soul that only pain can unearth. I do not delight in your suffering, but I see the greatness that will be born from it. Just as the potter spins the wheel to shape the clay according to his design, I am turning the circumstances around you to craft something that reflects my glory. Every event is not meant to destroy you, but to open a new chapter in which you will not merely survive but live with purpose, live in fullness, and live with spiritual influence. My beloved child, when you see your own imperfections, I know that I saw them long before you did, and still, I chose you. When you feel the weakness in your heart, that is the very place where my strength can shine through. When you feel like you are not enough, remember that your lack is the very space my grace is ready to fill. You don't have to appear strong. You only need to be honest, and I will be your strength. Not a single whisper you lift to me is forgotten. Not one tear that falls escapes my notice. Every step you take through this wilderness holds meaning. I am teaching you how to hear my voice amid the noise, how to discern true light among 1,000 false glimmers. I am training you not just to survive, but to overcome. I don't merely want you to make it through. I want you to emerge with a voice, with a mission, and with a knowledge of me that no one can take away from you. That is the spiritual legacy that only those who walk through the fire can receive. When you feel weary, let me remind you of this. You are not alone. I am holding your hand in every passing moment. In the times when you feel like you're falling, I am the one lifting you up with my strong arms. The sleepless nights, the words you cannot express, the sighs no one else understands, I hear them all. I am the one who sees the pain that cannot yet be spoken, the one who counts every step you take and knows every beat of your heart. This is not just a difficult season. This is the beginning of an elevation. Look directly to me, and you will see I am not just beside you. I am going before you, clearing the path, sustaining you, and providing new strength each day. You are not defined by your current circumstances, but by the word I have spoken over you. And that word does not change, does not waver, and is not dependent on emotion or situation. There will be seasons in your life when you will not see clearly, when there is no external confirmation, no applause or recognition. These are the seasons when I choose to hide myself, not to punish you, but to teach you to live by faith and not by feelings. I do not lead you into darkness to abandon you, but to bring you into an environment where my light is the only source you have left and the only one you truly need. True faith is not proven when everything goes smoothly. True faith is revealed in the darkness when every former support has crumbled, when the answers do not come as expected, when your heart is full of unanswered questions. I am not intimidated by your questions. I do not shrink back from your honest doubts. I welcome every whispered word, every tear-stained decision to keep walking. These are the deepest praises, not from your lips, but from a soul that has been crushed and still chooses me. In the silence you're enduring, a voice is being formed. In the solitude you feel, a new intimacy is growing. On the surface, it may look like nothing is happening, but within you, I am deepening your spiritual roots so that you can stand firm when greater storms come. I am not building you for a short sprint. I am equipping you for the entire journey, for things you have not yet seen and responsibilities you have not yet imagined. My child, the most precious thing you will carry out of this season is not the answer, but a deeper knowledge of me. When you've tasted my faithfulness in the wilderness, you won't be easily swayed by the counterfeits of the plains. When you've learned to hear me in the secret place, you will be able to discern my true voice among the many false ones in this noisy world. This season is cultivating a new sensitivity in you, a spiritual capacity that doesn't come from books, but from experience with me in the dark. There are things within you that only fire can reveal. There are stubborn parts, prideful places, confidence in the flesh that can only be refined through bitter trials. But I will never allow the fire to consume you. I only permit it to purify you. Like the silversmith who never takes his eyes off the gold in the furnace, I never take my eyes off you. I am watching every moment of transformation in your spirit, and I will not let you be destroyed, only transformed. Do you know this? What I am doing in secret will become your strength in seasons of visibility. What you've learned when no one was watching will become the solid foundation when all eyes are on you. If I have hidden you for a long season, it is because I am growing deep roots, so that when you bloom, nothing can uproot you from the place I have destined for you. Do not judge this season by its silence or delay. See it through the lens of eternity. You are being prepared for something of everlasting value. You may not realize it, but even in your most exhausted moments, you are inspiring those around you. Through your quiet faithfulness, through your decision not to give up, even when you see nothing ahead. You are bearing witness to a living God, not with eloquent words, but with your very life. I see it all. I take note of even the smallest act, and at the appointed time, I will use those very things to remind others that there is still a faithful generation, that there are still souls who do not bow to their circumstances. Let humility guide you in this season. When you feel empty, I can fill you with what is true. When you have nothing left to hold on to, it is then that I can become your only and complete refuge. I do not want you to live on scraps of fleeting emotions. I want you to live by unshakable truth. That truth is Metha, one who does not change. who does not revoke my promises, and who never gives up halfway. You may not see your progress, but I do. Every day you choose to stand rather than surrender. You are stepping closer to your destiny. Every time you breathe out a prayer instead of a complaint, you are lighting a lamp in the spiritual realm. Every small act of faithfulness will be multiplied by me in my perfect time. My beloved, I want you to understand a profound truth that many who follow me often forget. Being chosen by me does not mean you are exempt from trials. Being anointed does not mean you will never cry. Being given a mission does not mean you will never stumble. But it does mean that when the storms come, you have a solid anchor that cannot be swept away. You have a calling that no wind can silence. You have a presence that never leaves you, even when the world turns its back. Sometimes, those who are called to carry the light must walk through the darkest roads, not because I delight in their suffering, but because I need them to understand the darkness in order to truly bring the light. No one can comfort the brokenhearted with hollow words. I want you to remember the one who has sat in the ashes, who has breathed through sobs, who has clung to every promise like a starving soul holds a piece of bread, that one will know how to touch shattered hearts with a love that is not showy, not performative, but deeply, achingly real. You are being shaped into such a person, not to please the crowds, but to become warmth in someone else's spiritual winter, not to impress with artificial light, but to become a true flame kindled from the embers of trials, sustained by the oil of patience, and kept burning by the breath of the Holy Spirit. I am not seeking perfection in you, I am seeking truth. I do not demand that you be strong all the time. I only ask that you be brave. Not brave in the absence of fear, but brave enough to keep moving, even with trembling steps. The faithfulness I value most is not in never falling, but in rising again and again without weariness and wiping away the tears and continuing forward, even when your heart still bleeds. My child, I have seen every season you have walked through. I have not only seen the outward victories, but I have remembered every inner battle that no one else saw. Every time you chose not to lash out, not to give up, not to deny your faith even when no one applauded, even when no one noticed to me. That was true victory. That is the evidence of a soul being transformed, not by power, but by love. You are being written into a living message. Your life will become living proof that grace is real, that promises never fail, and that even when everything else falls apart, those who lay their foundation in me will remain unshaken. What you are learning now is not only for yourself. These are preparations for the mission you are destined to carry. You will not be sent with mere theories you've learned, but with meaningful scars. And because of this, you will not speak merely with your lips, but with your presence. People will see in your eyes something they cannot name, but they will know you have touched the truth, and that truth has transformed you. I never give a mission without also giving strength, but at times, I give strength through weakness itself. When you have nothing left to cling to, that is when you fully hold on to me. When you feel stripped bare in the face of trials, that is when you put on the armor of surrender. And in that place of total dependence, I perform my greatest miracles. Do not think the past days were wasted. Every time you chose to rise again, it was a declaration that darkness does not have the final word. Every time you chose to believe, it struck a blow against the enemy's lies. And every time you chose to forgive, to love, to endure, my kingdom was extended through your very life. You were not called to live a normal life. You were not born merely to exist. You were created to influence, to ignite, to leave sacred footprints along the path for generations to come. But before I can take you to the heights, I must ensure that your roots run deep in me. For nothing is more painful than a tree lifted high without the roots to sustain it. What I am building in this season will not be worn down by time. It will endure. Like living stones in the temple, I am establishing within your soul. And when this season passes, you will not emerge empty-handed. You will carry with you treasures no one can steal, a deep understanding of me, a faith as steady as stone, and a heart molded to beat in rhythm with my eternal will. When I speak, everything moves. When I knock, no door can remain shut. And now, as you have passed through this season of refinement, I say to you, a new door is opening before your eyes. Not because of your efforts, not because you are worthy enough, but because my grace has chosen this moment to unveil what I have long prepared in the secret place. You may not feel an immediate shift, but in the spiritual realm, a great movement is underway. Walls that once seemed insurmountable are beginning to crack. Dreams that seemed long dead are being revived with new life. And what you once thought was indefinitely delayed is now being realigned by me to happen at the right time, in the right way, through the right people. You have been faithful now. I entrust you with more. You stood firm when no one saw now. I will cause you to stand in my light, where nothing can obscure you. But remember this, the doors you are about to walk through do not lead only to comfort. They lead to the expansion of spiritual influence. They open opportunities to fulfill the mission your soul was designed for from the beginning of time. And to walk through them, you must carry one thing without fail, a deep humility and a clear awareness of your complete dependence on me. Do not underestimate the dark days you have walked through. It was in those very moments unseen, uncelebrated, and heavy with silence that the foundation was quietly and powerfully laid for you to walk securely into a new season. When you prayed through the long nights, you were not merely speaking into the void, you were sowing seeds. When you worshiped me with tears in your eyes, you were not simply surviving pain, you were faithfully watering those seeds with devotion. And now, the time of harvest is drawing near. This harvest will not come in the form of revenge or compensation as you may have imagined, but rather as a profound unveiling of my glory through your life deep, lasting, and far beyond what you could ever ask for or imagine. I have never allowed you to step into a new season without preparing you first. Though the preparation may not have looked like what you hoped for, it has always been exactly what was needed. My silence has never been absence. In fact, it was in the stillness that I was moving the most, shaping and fortifying you in ways words could not express. Now that the appointed time has come, you will begin to see what I promised take shape not through pressure or striving, but through the natural, unstoppable flow of my divine will. I know there were times when you questioned whether you had failed or whether I had forgotten what I said. But, my child, a seed never sprouts on the day it is sown. It must first be buried hidden, unnoticed, surrendered to the darkness so that it may break open and rise. So it has been with your soul. In order for you to bear fruit that lasts into eternity, you had to be willing to fall away from the old, to let what once was dissolve so that something new could take root. And now, because you did not give up in the soil of silence, the season of budding has come upon you. But remember this, you are not stepping into a new season just to receive, you are entering to give. What I am entrusting to you now is not simply a reward for your faithfulness, but a divine supply meant to nourish the hearts of others who are still thirsty. You will become living water in dry places. You will be a light in the midst of shadows. You will be a living testimony of a God who is faithful and never late. So do not celebrate only because the doors are opening. Prepare your heart to carry greater responsibility. Guard your spirit against pride and wear humility like armor each day. I am not lifting you up so that you might be glorified. I am lifting you so that through your life, many others will be drawn to truth. This new influence requires that you continue to walk in total dependence on me. The doors you once thought were sealed shut are now trembling, not because you pushed harder, but because the time I appointed has arrived. And in this moment, I do not only desire to do miracles for you, I desire to perform miracles through you. My beloved, when I open a new season in your life, it is not just a sign that hardship has passed. It is a divine call to greater influence. Those whom I draw out of the darkness are not merely healed, they are commissioned. No one passes through fire only to return to who they once were. Those who have been refined cannot go back to what was. And you, yes, you, are one of them. What you are sensing now is not the conclusion of testing, but the beginning of a far greater mission. I did not train you just so you could live in peace. I trained you to be a vessel who carries my presence, one who prepares the way, one who no longer lives for self, but for the souls wandering in the shadows, souls who have yet to hear my name. You once asked, "Why me?" And I heard it in the moments when your tears fell. But now, let me answer clearly. It is because you chose not to let go when there was nothing left to hold on to. It is because you kept the faith not with strength, but with steadfastness. You were not chosen because you were better than anyone else, but because you were willing to be taught. And while many ran from correction, you bowed your head, opened your heart, and allowed me to prune every thorny branch of the flesh. Now is the time for you to understand this. Some blessings come with responsibility. I am placing holy things in your hands, and what is holy must be carried with reverence and awareness. I did not send you out to become the loudest voice. I sent you out to become the truest one, the voice shaped by experience, anointed by humility, and breathed into by my spirit. The greatness I am leading you into is not like the standards of the world. It is not found in prominence, but in the capacity to endure loneliness for the sake of truth. It is not found in the number of people surrounding you, but in the quality of your complete obedience. You may walk a path no one understands. You may carry out my word without anyone's approval. But remember this, I did not call you to be understood, I called you to be sent. I do not need you to be applauded, I need you to obey. Be careful with what you have been given. The gifts I have placed within you are for serving, not for building your own kingdom. The more you are given, the lower you must walk, not because I want to make you weak, but because only when you are close to the ground can you clearly hear my whisper. Do not seek the spotlight of the stage. Seek the light of my presence in the secret place. It is from that place you will receive fresh revelation, not to speak impressively, but to live authentically. I also want you to know that in this new season, spiritual warfare will intensify. The enemy does not let go of awakening souls easily. It will try to plant voices of doubt in your heart, relationships that mislead you, and doors that open but are not from me. So let discernment be your companion. Do not rush into anything, even if it looks good, unless I have spoken. Learn to wait for in the waiting. You will hear more clearly. I will teach you how to walk in authority without arrogance, how to carry influence without being influenced. You will have to choose obedience over comfort. You will have to say no to what many consider normal. But I promise you this, everything you lay down for my name's sake, I will repay with what cannot be measured. Rest in me is deeper than any form of recognition, and my reward surpasses every temporary satisfaction. My beloved, prepare your heart. I will take you to places you never imagined. I will open your mouth to speak words beyond your wisdom. I will make you the answer to the silent questions so many souls are carrying. But to become that, you must remain in Minot just for a day. But every day, not just in the high moments, but in the most ordinary ones as well. You were not sent to impress, but to sow life. And to sow life, you must continue to be watered by humility, nurtured by prayer, and harvested through patience. This is your moment. Stand firm in what I have engraved upon your soul. Wear your calling like a sacred cloak. And remember this, you do not walk alone. I go before you. I walk beside you. And I dwell within you. My beloved, as I lead you into a new season, I am not simply moving you from one circumstance to another. I am shifting the frequency of your soul. I am raising you to a new dimension of awareness of me, to a greater sensitivity to my voice, and to a deeper alignment with the eternal purpose I wrote into your being before you were ever formed in your mother's womb. You are not just someone who has endured trials. You are someone who carries a sacred commission. What you have been through was never just about survival, it was to prepare you for a life of purpose. Your life is no longer centered around personal desires, temporary dreams, or goals set by human standards. From this moment forward, you are called to live for something that transcends time, something untouched by praise or criticism, something recorded not only in the pages of earthly history, but in the eternal archives of heaven. I have not given you an easy assignment, but I have not given you anything without also providing everything necessary for its completion. In every breath, every decision, every word, and every step, I will supply you with the strength you need to fulfill what has already been ordained. But you must understand this. There is a great difference between being called and truly living worthy of the calling. I have called you, but only you can choose to walk in a way that honors that call. Be vigilant. Do not let what is temporary distract you from what is eternal. Fame will come and go. Human praise shifts with the winds of change. But what I have placed within you will stand firm when all systems fail, and every way of life loses its meaning. You were not made to please the world, but to please the one who formed your soul with deliberate purpose. Live with your eyes fixed on what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is everlasting. Your obedience in the small things will unlock doors beyond your imagination. You do not need to carve your own path. I am the one who opens and no one can shut, who shuts and no one can open. Your role is not to strive for recognition, but to walk with integrity, faithfulness, and humility. When you do what is right in the quiet, I will raise you up in my perfect time. But remember, elevation in my kingdom is not for prominence, but for deeper service, greater love, and fuller sacrifice. The calling on your life is not merely personal, It is a vital link in a divine chain. There are souls waiting to be rescued that can only be reached when you take your rightful place. There are spiritual doors that will only open through your obedience. There are divine flows that will not be released until your wholehearted yes is spoken. What you do today may remain unseen by human eyes, but in heaven, it is shaking the atmosphere. I have not called you to a life of comfort. I have called you to a life of impact. Not impact measured by noise, but by the unmistakable imprint of my spirit in every action you take. You do not need to chase after position. I will establish you. You do not need to seek authority. I will grant you heavenly authority, not derived from titles, but born out of deep communion with me. Let me remind you of something important. What you are building today will become the foundation for the next generation. When you choose to remain faithful, you are laying each stone of a spiritual legacy that will continue even after you are no longer here. Every whispered prayer, every act of obedience, every decision made out of love for mice remembered, accumulated, and in due time will erupt into a harvest far beyond what your eyes can see. Live as one who has been sent. Walk as an ambassador of an unshakable kingdom. Love as I love. Forgive as I forgive. And stand firm as I have stood within you. Your mission is not only about what you do, but about who you are becoming. And if you allow me to complete my work within you, I will use you to accomplish great works beyond you. This is not a moment to retreat. This is the time to rise with a courage that is not rooted in fleeting emotion, but in the unwavering certainty of my word. Cling tightly to that calling. Do not let anyone steal it from your hands. And above all, do not let your own doubts rob you of what I have already confirmed. My beloved child, do not be mistaken. Just because you've passed through trials and entered a new season doesn't mean you will be entirely at rest. In fact, the closer you draw to the heart of your divine destiny, the more the darkness begins to stir. Spiritual advancement always invites resistance in the unseen realm. The enemy of your soul is not intimidated by those who merely speak of me, but it trembles before those who walk in clear understanding of their identity and assignment. You have stepped into new territory, and with that, the nature of your battles has shifted. What once caused you to stumble may no longer have power, but the enemy does not give up. It only adapts. It no longer attacks you with force, but with subtle erosion. It doesn't bring you down in one blow, but slowly dulls your spiritual sharpness, cools your passion, and replaces obedience with reasons that sound wise, yet drift far from my will. This is why I have warned you, be watchful and pray, lest you fall into temptation, not because I question your strength, but because I know the strategies of the darkness. It comes like a soft breeze, a fleeting thought, an undefined sense of unrest. If you do not guard your heart, if you do not examine every motive, every word, every step in the light of my presence, you could fall into the trap of complacency without even realizing it. I have placed a great calling upon your life, but that calling can only be preserved if you remain in a state of constant vigilance. This is not the strain of someone living in fear, but the discipline of a warrior who knows they are in the midst of a battlefield. Every word you speak, every choice you make, carries spiritual weight, and the enemy will never cease trying to distort your vision if you let your guard down. Do not judge the battle by what you see on the surface. There are times when everything seems calm, but that is when the enemy works most fiercely in the invisible realm. It seeks to wear you down in your mind, to make you question my voice, to cause you to doubt the value of what you've already walked through. And if you do not cling to the truth, you will be tempted to settle for the counterfeit. You will drift not by a single great fall, but by hundreds of small, unguarded steps. I have given you weapons for battle, not weapons made by hands, but weapons empowered by the divine to demolish strongholds. Yet these weapons are only effective when you wield them with alertness and steadfastness. You cannot afford to be careless in spiritual discipline. You cannot pray only when trouble comes. You cannot read my word only when you seek comfort. You must live in the word. Breathe through the word, and let the word become a sharp sword that divides soul and spirit, right and wrong, light and darkness. My beloved child, once you are anointed, you become a target. But this is not to make you fearful. It is to make you prepared. You are not alone. Heaven has commissioned its angelic host to guard those who are faithful. I do not send you into battle without support, but I need your cooperation. I need you to stay alert to every unusual emotion, to every whisper of doubt, to every relationship that does not originate from my will. You cannot allow spiritual fatigue to seep into the corners of your soul. The things left unresolved in your heart will become footholds for darkness. Wounds not surrendered to me will become triggers for wrong reactions. Keep your heart pure. Bring every emotion into the light. Let me examine you, so that you are not unknowingly nurturing something that may become a gateway to spiritual destruction. My child, do not let the excitement of a new season make you drop your guard. Glory can become a snare if your heart is not anchored in humility. Spiritual success without watchfulness can lead to quiet collapse. But if you keep your heart pure, if you continue to seek me more than you seek outcomes, then no scheme of the enemy will prevail. I am calling you not only to act under my leading, but to live under my watch. Keep watch like a gatekeeper in the night. Pray like one who will not let go until the promise is fully fulfilled, and walk as one who knows they carry the glory of the living one, not a glory to flaunt, but a light to illuminate the path for souls who are searching for a way out. My beloved, one of the subtlest tactics of darkness is not the obvious attack, but the quiet infiltration. The enemy has studied you, knows your weaknesses, understands your rhythm, and has measured the moments when you waver. It doesn't need to shout to bring you down. It only needs to whisper at the right time. One word skewed from truth. One glance that makes you doubt yourself. One delay dressed up as waiting on God. One leniency disguised as grace. I do not want you to live in fear, but I do want you to live in discernment. Not everything that comes to you is from me. Not every opportunity is a door I have opened. Not every sweet word is born of true love. The enemy is always looking for ways to dull your edge. It won't stop you all at once. It will slow you down little by little until you no longer realize you've veered from the original path. One of the strongest strategies of darkness is to wear you out without clear cause. You feel heavy though no burden is visible. You pray but your words lack force. You read the word but your heart doesn't stir. This is not because you are wrong, but because your spirit is being interfered with. The enemy has sown a fog into the spiritual atmosphere around you to blur your sensitivity, to cause you to live by habit rather than by fire. And when the fire within you begins to fade, it does not cause you to turn away from me immediately. It simply causes you to start comparing, to begin doubting, to start chasing after things I have not spoken. You will begin to think that I am too silent, that others seem to be progressing faster, that you might have missed something. And if you do not recognize this early, you will abandon your position to pursue illusions. Do not let delay discourage you. I know the enemy has used the prolonged waiting to plant thoughts in your heart that I have changed my mind, that I have chosen someone else in your place. But delay does not mean I am silent. In the spiritual realm, I am still at work. What I build is never rushed, for everything I do has purpose, order, and timing. If you try to force something before it's time, you will end up carrying a burden that was never yours to bear. The enemy wants you to step out of alignment and initiate something I have not commissioned. Know this: another scheme of the enemy is to entangle your mind through unhealthy connections. He sends people who appear righteous on the outside, but are manipulative within those who make you feel like you need them in order to walk in your calling. Rather than depending on me, he connects you with relationships that seem encouraging but actually weaken your vision and dull your discernment. If you do not distinguish clearly, you will confuse what feels pleasant with what is right. And that is the moment you begin to lose the holiness of your covenant with me. Understand that not every battle requires your response. Some battles only require your silence and your firm stand upon my word. The enemy will try to draw you into unnecessary arguments, exaggerated misunderstandings, and emotionally wounding events that do not touch your spirit. If you focus too much on these things, you will drain your spiritual energy on fronts I never assigned you to fight. Keep your vision lifted above what's happening in front of you. You are called to fight in the spiritual realm, not to react to everything in the natural. I remind you, the enemy delights when you hide wounds that remain unhealed. He knows that a hidden wound can turn into a root of bitterness, distorting the way you see me and the way you see yourself. You may think you are fine, but uncontrolled reactions, hypersensitivity, and withdrawal from community are all signs of an area that I have not yet been invited to heal. If you do not welcome me into it, the enemy will use it as an open door to plant deception and prolonged pain. My child, let me teach you how to stand without becoming hardened, how to fight without losing gentleness, how to remain sharp while still walking in love. This is the season where you must not live by emotion. You must live by leading. This is the time when your silence must not only be for rest, but for listening. Your solitude must not be for escape, but for strengthening. Your fewer words must not be out of fear, but so that your voice may carry the power that comes from silence refined. I am warning you, not so that you become suspicious of everything, but so that you may live awake in the light. When you become aware of the strategies of darkness, you will stop reacting emotionally and start acting with authority. The enemy is not afraid of shouting, but he trembles when a child knows their position in Christ, knows the promise they hold, knows when to be silent, walks in the right direction, and never gives up. My beloved child, now that you have come to understand the battle is real, and you have seen clearly the intricate schemes that surround you, it is time I equip you to overcome not by human means, but with the weapons of my kingdom. You are not called to merely swing your sword aimlessly into the air. You are called to strike with precision, to break chains, to open doors, and to stand firm when everything around you is shaken. The first truth you must grasp is this: this battle is not of the flesh, and it cannot be won through fleshly effort. You cannot defeat lies through reasoning. You cannot resist spiritual pressure with mere emotion. The true battle is not in arguments, in others' reactions, or in circumstances. It takes place within where faith, discernment, and faithfulness must function as your primary weapons. I have given you the full armor of the Spirit, but you must learn to wield it with understanding and accuracy. The helmet of salvation is not just an awareness of forgiveness. It is the protection of your mind against distorted thoughts. When you wear it, you reject any voice that contradicts my truth from entering your thoughts. Always ask yourself, is this thought from God? If it is not, cast it down. Do not let it take root. When you put on the breastplate of righteousness, you are not only clothing yourself with the righteousness of Christ, you are also choosing to walk in integrity each day. The enemy cannot penetrate a soul covered in truth and sealed against the nesting of darkness. When you choose purity in your words, motives, and thoughts, you fasten that breastplate tightly upon you, and no matter where the arrows fly from, they will not pierce through. The belt of truth not only holds the armor together, it also keeps you from spiritual disarray. When you do not know what is true, you become vulnerable to things that sound right but are actually wrong. That is why I want you anchored in my word daily. Do not live off yesterday's revelation. Ask me for your daily bread, for your mind and for your spirit. When truth becomes your backbone, you will not be broken by sudden waves of emotion. I have also given you the shoes of readiness to proclaim the gospel of peace. This means that wherever you go, you are to carry the atmosphere of heaven. Do not react in the way the world expects. Respond with peace that surpasses all understanding. When the enemy expects your anger, choose patience. When it lures you into arguments, choose silence. When it whispers doubt, choose praise. The atmosphere you bring is one of your most powerful counter-strategies. My beloved, the sword of the Spirit is my word, not words you invent, but the living word I illuminate in the precise moment. When you speak it under my authority, it can break chains, set souls free, and unblock what has been held back. But you must learn to listen before you speak. Pray before you act, and obey even when you do not fully understand. My word is not powerful in the hands of the distracted. It is sharp in the hands of the surrendered. In this battle, your internal posture matters more than any outward tactic. The enemy trembles not at the skilled, but at the one who knows who they are in me. When you stand assured that you are my chilled anointed and covered, you will not be easily shaken. You will not fear the storm. You will not lose your way when misunderstood. And you will not abandon your faithfulness when results do not come immediately. My dear child, remember this: victory does not come from never feeling weak, but from knowing where to return for strength. When you feel weary, do not turn to people for validation. Seek me in the quiet place. Let me restore your soul, renew your vision, and remind you why you started walking in the first place. The enemy may attack, but it cannot prevail unless you surrender. It may roar, but it cannot invade if you raise a hedge of prayer. It may try to disrupt, but it cannot harm you when you are covered by the protection of the Almighty. So stand firm. Fight not with fear, but with trust. Use the weapons I have given you. Guard the peace within your heart. Walk with discernment. And remember, the enemy is not defeated by shouting, but by the one who dares to kneel, to pray, and to never give up. My beloved, after the silent battles, After the long nights where no one saw your tears, I declare this: the time for restoration has come. Not a restoration by the standards of the world, where what was lost is simply returned, but a restoration from heaven, where I not only give back but increase, where every loss becomes the foundation for something greater to be built. The restoration I bring is not temporary, it is lasting. It is not a patchwork, it is a rebirth. I have seen what the enemy has stolen from you. I have heard the sighs you've held inside. I have recorded every dream you buried out of disappointment. And today, I want you to know this: nothing that has been lost has escaped my notice. What you think has passed, I am gathering in my hands. What you believe has been stolen, I will supply again in ways that will astonish you. More importantly, I will restore you before I restore to you, for you, yourself, are the most precious thing in my eyes. Child, restoration is not about returning to where you once stood, but stepping into places you have never been. There are things you once held that I do not intend to return in their former form. I want to change their very nature. Not everything you lost is meant to be reclaimed, but I will restore the deepest parts of your soul: peace, trust, spiritual strength, and the ability to dream again without being held captive by painful memories. I will not allow pain to become your identity. I will use it as the foundation for influence. Listen, I have begun to enlarge your spiritual territory. What you endured was not in vain. It has become seed in the spirit, and now is the time for it to sprout. You will begin to feel new currents, spiritual creativity unlocked, revelation increasing, communion with me becoming more intimate than ever. The dreams you once thought were just imagination, I am breathing life into them. The words you whispered in private prayer, I have remembered every one. And a season of answers is drawing near. But remember this: I am not restoring you so that you may live comfortably. I am restoring you so that you may be sent out with new strength. What you learned in the darkness will be used in the light. What has been healed in you will become healing for others. And what you've held on to in faith, in silence, will become a bold declaration of my power. Your restoration will not remain hidden. It will be evident not so that you may be exalted, but so that my glory may be revealed to many. You have walked through the fire, and the fire did not consume you. It only burned away what was never truly yours. Now, as you rise from the ashes, I want you to recognize this: you are not who you used to be. There is a new authority in your words. There is a majesty in your steps. There is a light in your eyes that the enemy cannot counterfeit. This is not because you have become strong by human standards, but because you were crushed in my hands in the right way, and I have reshaped you with my very breath. My child, true restoration always comes with increased influence. That is why I am expanding your spiritual territory. Doors you did not push will open. People you never sought will be drawn to you. The words you speak, though simple, will carry a weight you've never known before. But with influence that comes from me, there is always a call to watchfulness. You cannot live carelessly. You cannot speak what I have not spoken. You must not touch what is holy with hands that are not cleansed. The expansion that comes from me is never a reward for perfection. It is the result of faithfulness. You were not perfect, but you endured. You were not always strong, but you did not let go. And that is why now I say to you, rise. For the season of restoration has come. There is no more time to look back at what once was. There is no room left for self-pity or doubt. I am going before you. I am calling you by name, and I am giving you the keys to step into territories that once existed only in your prayers. Do not view this season of restoration as a reward. See it as a new commission. You are no longer the one seeking salvation. You are the one who carries salvation to others. You are no longer simply waiting to be healed. You are the one who brings healing wherever your feet touch. Every old wound becomes a point of contact for a new miracle. Every time you rise again becomes a call for others to step out of the places where they've been stuck. My beloved, I never call someone to step out without also providing for them. I never speak a word without already preparing the means to fulfill it. And the same is true for you. When I declare that you have entered a season of restoration, I am not only inviting you into rest, I am proclaiming a time where every true need of yours will be met completely and supernaturally. Not by effort, not by calculation, but by my hand opening the storehouses of heaven. You have tried in your own strength to carry the load, to make ends meet, to find solutions to what seemed like never-ending lack. But now, I am asking you to lay your hands down and lift your trust high. For from this season onward, provision will not come from what you can accomplish, but from the relationship you maintain with me. When you are in me, you are under the covering of grace. And where grace is, every need is met in perfect time, in perfect measure, and without lack. Child, I am not only giving you bread for today, but strategy for the year ahead. My provision is not merely material, it is the wisdom to steward what I place in your hands. Many have received blessings, but without the understanding that comes from the Holy Spirit, they could not sustain what was given. But you will be different. For I am not only placing resources in your hands, I am placing within your heart the spirit of a faithful steward, a spirit that does not waste, does not fear, does not cling, but is ready to release as led by the Spirit. I will provide you with relationships that are sanctified. The people you encounter in this season are not arriving by coincidence. They are sent according to divine appointment. Some will uphold your hands when you are weary. Others will open doors you could never access on your own. There will be those who recognize what I have placed within you and choose to walk with you, not for their own benefit, but because they are called to stand as guardians of the sacred flame beside you. Honor the connections I send. Learn to discern between those I have sent and those who come merely out of convenience. Do not enter into covenant with what only appears favorable on the surface, but lacks the evidence of the Holy Spirit's leading. I will also provide you with the clarity and courage to say no at the right time. Not every open door is meant for you to step through. Not every invitation originates from me. True provision is not found in abundance of options, but in the clarity that allows you to choose rightly. In this season, I am giving you a heightened sensitivity, a sharp discernment to distinguish not just between good and evil, but between what is good and what is divinely appointed. You will not be swept away by what is trending. You will not be deceived by appearances. You will recognize what is from me and what is constructed by the enemy to divert you from your true path. My child, I will strengthen you both physically and spiritually for the expansion I am leading you into. I know the weight you have carried. I know how you have poured yourself out just to hold on to what I entrusted to you. But in this season, I do not want you merely surviving. I want you moving in fullness. I want you bearing fruit without being drained. I will restore your strength from the inside out. Your rest will be deeper. Your prayer life will become richer. Your time alone will no longer feel like emptiness, but will become a wellspring of renewal and strength. Beyond all this, I will restore what you thought was lost forever. The years you believed were wasted, I will redeem them through divine acceleration. The opportunities you missed, I will replace with even greater ones. The relationships that were broken, if they were from me, I will restore them if they were not. I will give you peace to let them go completely. Not one wound you carry is wasted. Every crack and fracture in your heart will become a place where I pour out my presence in fullness. But never forget, my provision does not come to make you comfortable, but to make you ready. Ready for greater journeys, for heavier assignments, for a life of influence beyond anything you have yet imagined. I do not provide aimlessly. Everything I give is intended to draw you nearer to your purpose. Receive it with open hands, but do not hold it too tightly. Steward it with care, but never allow your identity to become tied to what you possess. Who you are is not defined by what I give, but by the one to whom you belong. Beloved, walk in peace. You do not need to strive to create something on your own. I am your source. I am the river. I am the bread of life. Each day, seek me first, and all else will follow. Not because you have earned it, but because I am faithful. Not because you have done enough, but because I have already made every provision you need. And my dear child, when I bring you out of desolation and into a new land, it is not simply to heal you and then leave you to continue alone. I lead you into the promised land not for indulgence, but so you may walk in wisdom, in holiness, and with spiritual alertness worthy of what you have gained through silent faith and tearful sacrifice. Restoration is not the end. It is the foundation of a new life. And in order for that foundation to remain secure, you must learn to guard what I have established. Many have entered seasons of blessing only to lose everything because they failed to guard their hearts. They mistook healing for permanence and allowed spiritual laziness to creep in. They believed open heavens would last forever, forgetting that continual grace flows only through the door of spiritual vigilance. I tell you these things not to make you live in fear, but so that you may cherish what you have been given. Remember this: every restoration must be preserved, every blessing must be treasured, and every expansion must be protected from misuse. It is not because I will take back what I have given, but because the enemy will always look for small cracks through which to bring ruin from within. You once lived in chaos, in pain, in disorientation. I brought you out of that. Do not return, even if it feels comforting, even if it brings familiarity, even if others say there's nothing wrong with Idif. I have pulled you out. Do not let yourself step back in. Sometimes, the greatest danger is not blatant sin, but suple compromise. A little compromise each day will eventually lead you far from the light I have brought you into. My child, examine the motives of your heart, often not so that you may live in constant doubt of yourself, but so that your heart may remain pure before me. The higher you step into places of influence, the more the attack will come, not through opposition, but through seduction. Seduction through power, through recognition, through personal comfort, and through the illusion of control. But I did not call you to dominate, I called you to serve. Not out of obligation, but because you have been healed enough to give what is true without running dry. Do not let your mind drift back to the old questions I have already answered. Do not let old emotions rule when I have given you a strong spirit. When uncertainty rises, fight back with truth. When weariness comes near, Retreat into the quiet place. When temptation repeats itself, do not negotiate the door of your heart. The enemy only needs a sliver of space. But you have the power to close every entryway with your daily choices. Choose obedience. Choose truth. Choose faith. My beloved, true restoration is not becoming numb to old wounds, but refusing to let old wounds define how you live today. It's not forgetting the past, but looking back without being controlled by it. When you live in true freedom, you no longer need to prove anything. You no longer need to compare. You no longer need the approval of others. Rest in me becomes your inner defense, and wisdom becomes the strong wall surrounding your life. Remember this, I did not give you a field so you could rest there forever. I gave you a land to plant, sow, tend, and harvest. If you do not keep cultivating your relationship with me, weeds will grow. If you do not remain alert in my word, truth will become diluted. If you do not guard your heart in purity, holiness will become just a concept. You cannot live off yesterday's spiritual inspiration. You must live by my presence today. My child, when you live this way, you do not merely maintain restoration. You become a living spring never running dry, never blocked, because the source does not come from outside, but from the wellspring within, which I have opened forever. Those who come near you will be strengthened. Lost souls will find light through your life, and everything I have restored in you will become a living testimony to the restorer who never forgets his promises. My child, now, as your journey has passed through fire and weathered the winds, after the season of weeping and the silent wait, I declare this: you have arrived at the place I appointed. It is not a location on any earthly map, but a sacred position in my kingdom, a place where you are no longer merely seen as a survivor, but as one who has been established, as a pillar, a foundation, a voice, and a signpost for the generation to come. My child, you are no longer one who searches for the way. You have become the way for others to follow. I no longer need to pull you out of the shadows, for now you are the one I use to draw others out of darkness. You have lived truly with me in the secret place. You obeyed when no one was watching. You trusted when there was no visible sign. And now, my child, I will not let such faithfulness be forgotten. I establish you publicly not for display, but as a testimony that I am the faithful one. My child, when I establish, no human hand can tear down. When I place you in a position of influence, no matter the storms, no matter the resistance of man, that position will remain firm because it is not born of negotiation or striving, but of divine anointing. You do not need to prove yourself. The fruit of your life will testify to your origin. Your heart saturated with my word and forged in obedience will bring forth a difference the world cannot counterfeit. Now, my child, this is a time of endurance, not of trial and error. What you do now is no longer exploratory. It is the action of one who has been entrusted with authority. Every word you speak, every structure you build, every soul you touch carries the imprint of one sent from heaven. You are no longer learning to walk, you are leading the way. And to lead, you cannot live as you did before. My child, the establishment I have for you is a spiritual condition where you are no longer swayed by emotion, no longer dependent on circumstance, no longer easily shaken by delay or misunderstanding. Your heart no longer needs evidence to believe, no longer seeks praise to feel secure, no longer relies on recognition to keep moving forward. For you now know all that you need has already been placed within you, a faith that does not fade, a spirit that does not compromise, and a soul immersed in my presence. Understand this. My child, establishment is not merely about presence on the battlefield. It is about the commitment to live fully within it. I have not positioned you here to build your own throne. I have placed you here to establish my kingdom in uncharted places. Every day is strategy. Every decision is a move that shifts the spiritual atmosphere. Every word you speak, whether in quiet conversation or from great platforms, can open the gates of heaven or stir a battle. Therefore, walk in complete awareness. My child, you no longer need miracles to survive. You are now the vessel through which I bring miracles to others. You are my hand extended to those who have lost hope. You are my feet sent into places others fear to tread. You are my mouthpiece to speak life into souls gasping in despair. What sets you apart is not ability, but complete surrender. You no longer live for yourself. You live to glorify my name in joy or hardship, in welcome or rejection. This establishment does not mean you will not face hardship, but the difference is this: now you know where to return. You know how to stand firm. You know when to fight and when to step back in stillness and let me act. You will no longer panic in the storm. You will no longer question me and delay. For deep within, you know, I am your unshakable stronghold. And what I establish, no one can uproot. My beloved child, when I established you, I did not merely position you to receive, but entrusted you with a sacred responsibility to live as one who belongs to me amidst a generation that has lost its way. You are no longer one who searches for life. Now, you are a bearer of life. And because of that, every step you take, every word you speak, every decision you make carries weight not only for the present, but for the unfolding of generations to come. My child, establishment never comes without commission. With the grace given to you, I have called you to a higher purpose, to live as a reflection not for the praise of man, but so that through you, they may see me. This is not a burden, but an honor. For I do not choose someone to carry an empty title. I choose someone to embody my nature in a world drowning in pretense. I am not looking for loud voices that echo through crowds. I am seeking lives aligned with truth. You don't need to raise your voice to make an impact. Just live truthfully, walk with integrity. Keep your heart pure even when no one is watching. For my kingdom is not built on applause, but on quiet acts of faithfulness in the secret place where your soul meets my reality day after day. My child, in a generation led by feelings, I call you to walk by discernment. In a world founded on trends, I teach you to stand firm upon the word, and in the face of temptations to follow the crowd, I require you to remain faithful to what I have spoken, even if it means walking alone. Being established does not exempt you from criticism, but I promise you this: your steadfastness will become a light to those groping in the dark. My dear one, you do not have to prove your worth. I am the one who gave you worth. You do not need to prove that you are good enough. I am the one who made you enough through the sacrifice of blood. So live from that identity unshaken, unstrained, and uncompromising. The more you are aware of who you are in me, the more you will guard your heart from what is unnecessary and stay clear of the silent snares of the dark. I also want you to understand this. Your fruit is the most powerful evidence of my presence in your life. You may preach, write, prophesy, or lead, but if your life does not bear true fruit, your words will be but hollow sounds. Fruit does not come from striving. Fruit comes from connection. Remain in me. As the branch remains in the vine, do not rush to display results. Let me nourish you from within. And when the season is right, the fruit will emerge naturally from a faithful heart. My child, I have also placed upon your shoulders the responsibility to build others up. The one who is established does not live for themselves. You are given influence not to hoard the light, but to spread it so that others too may shine. Strengthen the weak. Lift up the soul that has stumbled. Remind the wandering heart of their worth in me. Never underestimate the power of a timely word of encouragement, a sincere act of forgiveness, or a humble deed of perseverance. These could be the very moments that break the chains within someone longing for freedom. My beloved child, remember this: establishment is not the destination. It is the beginning of a lasting journey. Each day, you must guard what I have entrusted to you. In every moment, choose to stand on the side of light, not out of fear of being cast away, but because your love for me has matured to the point where you do not wish to grieve the Holy Spirit. When you live with that kind of purpose, you will no longer need to chase recognition. My presence will go with you. My peace will guard you, and my glory will be revealed through you. My child, live as if everything you do is recorded in heaven, because it is. Every act of faithfulness, though no applause is heard, is preserved. Every time you choose obedience, though unseen by anyone else, is credited by me. Every word you speak to encourage, even the simplest one, carries weight in eternity. That is how one who is established lives, not according to the eyes of man, but through the gaze of heaven. You were not established to stop, but to become a river that never ceases, a lamp that never goes out, a gatekeeper for your generation, reflecting my heart, carrying my message, and walking as though all of heaven and earth are bearing witness to your every step. Oh, my beloved child, now that the long journey has reached its convergence, when steps once heavy have become firm, when the cries of the night have been replaced with deep peace, I declare this over your soul: you have been sealed, not with ink, but with blood, not on paper, but on the palm of my hand, not temporarily, but eternally. Everything you've been through was never a disconnected series of events. Each one was a stroke in a sacred painting. And I am the artist. Not one failure altered my plan. Not one delay retracted my promise. Not one moment of your doubt. 1 minute of collapse. Or every whispered, "I'm not enough," ever made me reconsider. Because from the very beginning, I did not choose you for your strength, but so that my strength would be made perfect in your weakness. Now, you are no longer merely learning how to walk, you are being sent to establish foundations. You no longer need the affirmation of others, for you already have the confirmation of heaven. Your name is written in my remembrance, where faithfulness is recorded, where surrender becomes legacy, where not a single act of love for me is ever in vain. My child, the life you are living is not just for the present. It echoes into eternity. The quiet decisions you've made have become beacons for the generations. The choice to live holy in a broken age has shaken the spiritual realm. Your prayers, which once seemed fragile, have stirred deep spiritual waves unseen by human eyes. And I want you to know this: everything you do in obedience will be multiplied by me to 1,000 generations. Do not think you are merely living a good life. You are living a life designed to leave eternal impact. What you sow now is not just for this season, but for the seasons of those not yet born. The seeds you've sown in tears will grow in the lives of people you may never meet. You are no longer just an individual. You are an irreplaceable link in the flow of divine purpose. From this moment on, you no longer need to ask if you are in the right place, at the right time, walking the right plan, because it is I who brought you here. Every season you've passed through, every door that opened, every person I've brought in or taken out of your life has been part of a sacred orchestration. Even now, I give you unshakable peace. You are not lost. You are in the very center of my will, and I will keep you there as long as you choose to remain in me. From this day forward, my mark will follow you. No one needs to ask where you come from. The light in your eyes will answer for you. No one needs to question what you carry. My presence within you will testify. My child, no one can deny what has taken place in your soul, for I will use your very life as undeniable evidence of the faithfulness of the one who has called, preserved, restored, and established you. You no longer need to look back. You no longer belong to the lands of error and regret. I have shut the old door and opened a new one, not only for you to walk through, but for you to carry the light that will shine upon those still hesitating at the threshold of their destiny. You are living proof that it is never too late. No one is too far gone, and no wound is beyond the reach of my restoration. Live each day with this awareness. You bear my seal. You are not a symbol of weakness. You are a testament of triumph in grace. You are not merely a bearer of the word. You are one in whom the word has become life. And every time you walk in obedience, the heavens shift. Every time you speak in faith, truth is released. Every time you stand for what is right, darkness is pushed back. Therefore, you are never a background character in this story. You are an essential part of the fulfillment of my plan for this generation. This is my final promise to you for this journey. I will never leave you, never forsake you. I will hold you, guide you, and bring to completion what I have begun. Know that your name is not written in fading ink, but in blood that never dries. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that together we can receive the living words, build unwavering faith, and walk in the boundless love of Christ. Amen.